In the spring of 1965, the 1st United States Army combat troops were committed to the conflict raging in South Vietnam.
The fuck you hit here?
There was no point in my living life elsewhere, so this was the place to start. And if it was intended for me to die, I was quite willing to die because I had thought of suicide quite a bit and written about it, entertained it, and fantasized about it.
You volunteered for this shit, man? Believe that?
I want to see what America really is. I want to hang out with people who come from with no education, who come from nowhere. And I want to see what they're thinking. I want to feel what the bottom of the barrel, what reality is like. And I could think of no greater reality than war. I was eager to get to the war, to learn.
He was a crazy fucker.
Here's the jungle like ghosts in a landscape.
I wrote the Platoon script in 1976 in New York City in about a few weeks. Primarily because I reached a place in my life where I felt like if I didn't write it at that point in time, I would forget what had happened in the war.
Here was a script that was the most fantastic writing I had come across. It had captured the essence of war from the viewpoint of the foot soldier, and I felt that I had something very special. I went back to all the studios that Oliver had been at, and every one of them rejected the film. That was the first hurdle that we had to get Platoon made.
There's nothing Oliver wouldn't do to get this movie made. And all of a sudden you want to get on that, you want to be part of that show.
I met this guy by the name of Oliver Stone, and the thing that I remember was that he was unlike any guy that I ever met before, as far as he was not like someone that someone would give a bunch of money to make a movie.
When I smoke, I think of Platoon.
What's the delay up on point?
The film is based on people that I knew in two different infantry outfits over there. I was in the 1st Cavalry and I was also in the 25th Infantry. So the platoon that was drawn in the movie is based on composites and groups of people that I met in different units. The characters in the film, they're accurate, and that's the platoon. A platoon is made up of men, and each one has an individual characteristics. Each one comes from different states, different feelings. I was very comfortable with the cast because I knew that I had like a baseball coach with a great team. I just knew that I had platoons of different layers of players. And I knew that all these kids were hot.
Nobody had done anything. Tom had done a couple movies. Willem had done a few. Charlie had done squat.
On there and say, something better, bring me something better tomorrow. It's actually kind of, psychotic.
That second, third team, that layer was really from first time in the movies, and the real thing.
It was a very odd soup bowl of guys, It's a strange mixture.
The only way we were going to get these Wee Willie Winky, the actor, to have any concept of what it was like to be an infantryman in the jungle was to put them in the jungle as infantrymen.
We made it clear up front before they left the United States that we were not interested in them working on this film unless they were willing to undergo 2 weeks of rehearsal as training as light infantry. And that was the condition.
Hypothetically, if you broke your leg, you wouldn't be allowed to do the film. 3 actors in New York tried to start a movement that would prevent that language from being in the contract. And I'm like, Oliver, and he's like, you're not you're not with these guys, are you? And I'm like, I almost started crying. I'm like, Oliver, no, I am going to the Philippines. I'm so going, I'm already there.
Nobody was around because I wanted to go there early just to relax and get used to the surroundings. I was really tired, and I said, I can't go to sleep now, it'll totally throw me off, but I can set an alarm, I'll take a little nap. Alarm woke me up, and I went to open up the curtains, you know, to see, you know, whether it was still sunny out and all that. And I looked, and there was a column of tanks going down on the street. The revolution had started while I was taking my nap.
What happens now? There's a revolution in the Philippines. What else?
Everybody was saying, listen, don't go to the Philippines, you know, don't do that. It's very dangerous, you know, because that entire, you know, the NPA, the New People's Army was there, and it was just chaos and, you know, riots and murders and bombs and shit everywhere.
Selfishly, all I could think about was I wish these bastards would get the revolution over so we could make our little $6 million movie.
We landed there, I think it was 2 days after Marcos had split.
From the moment those lads arrived in the Philippines where we shot it, they were their characters. They were new guys coming into a unit in Vietnam. Nothing else existed. He wanted them to understand the pain and the agony and the angst and the psychology of being a grunt in Vietnam. One of the first things I did was a shocker. I cut all the hair off. I stood right in front of them and looked in their beady ass eyeballs and said, "Get that civilian slime off of your gourd." And that shit was gone. And with it went their persona, whoever they thought they were. They were now a soldier.
48 hours earlier, I was in New York City, you know, getting a cup of coffee and a bagel, and now these idiots are looking at me for what to do. I'm hardly prepared to tell you.
Gentlemen, that piece of equipment that looks like a little tiny shovel, that's what it is. It's called an entrenching tool. Now you pick it up and you take it out of your character and you go here, 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 and here, and you spend the next 4 hours digging your home. And they started in on the holes.
That hole ain't gonna dig itself. Dig, dig!
You know, our hands are just raw because we're not used to this kind of work. We're a bunch of city guys out in the bush.
On that same night, I had the special effects guy, Yves de Bono, came out, and while they were digging their home, he quietly put in some explosive charges around the perimeter. And I gave the signal. Boom, 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 boom. These mortar explosions went off all around him, and we got up and screamed, "Incoming, incoming, get in your holes!" And then the AK-47 fire started from outside the perimeter and just started pouring in. These guys were just crapping little green pellets.
Special Forces guys were also pretty hardcore. I mean, there was some question about whether they knew the boundaries of the game.
I don't think any of us, myself included, really knew the extent of what that boot camp would become. Somebody once wrote, "Hell is the impossibility of reason." That's what this place feels like, hell.
And it was all sorts of things. It was cooking, it was slang of the period, it was music of the period, it was weapons, booby traps, small infantry tactics, defensive and offensive tactics, ambushes, first aid, medevac, radio communications.
All your time was occupied with something, either a lecture or a demonstration about some weapon or some type of ordnance or whatever, some equipment that you had to wear.
We were doing basic infantry and advanced infantry training things in 2-week period that's ordinarily done in 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 weeks.
It was rigorous, rugged, tough, designed that way.
Everybody had to follow their rank, was only spoken to as their character name. It was very regimented. It was very exhausting.
2 weeks is not a long time, you know, but you gotta jam it all in.
We didn't shower. We didn't bathe. We didn't have any access to those facilities because of the grime and the bites and the mung and the stonosity of it all. I decided to scratch blood from my body, and that physically had to stop me.
The rations, you know, that we were given to eat was the most shocking thing that you'd ever seen. It would be like bean, what was it?
The mosquito situation was pretty intense. They were everywhere, especially at night, because you had to sleep with your poncho over your head. There wasn't a lot of oxygen in there, so it was a, you know, you made a choice: get eaten alive and wake up looking like the Toxic Avenger or somebody just entering puberty, or not breathe in your sleep.
In the middle of the night, a group of baboons came down and went through our packs and all that stuff. We got up. I filled my canteen up. I put these pills in that, you know, purify the water, supposedly. Shook it up. We walk about 50 yards upstream from where we were. I collected the water downstream, remember. There was a big, fat, dead pig in the water. All bloated and, you know, really disgusting. I drank the water that just ran over that thing. We got back. I was delirious for like 24 hours. I don't remember it. I got a little taste of like jungle fever.
It was 50% alert every night. You were up for 2 hours, and then you woke your buddy, and he was up for 2 hours.
That was the one thing I told Dale Dye up front. I said, I want them to know what a year without sleep feels like. I want them to feel it in 2 weeks.
I fell asleep on, it was my post. I was on duty, you know. I was supposed to watch for the potential ambush. And I was just knackered, man. I was doing one of these. Finally went out and woke up to this gun, you know, in the back of my, like on the back of my neck. And I sort of woke up like that, you know, and Dale said, "You're dead, Johnny." Click.
My cadre and I got outside the perimeter one night, just pitch black, no moon, nothing. Great guerrilla night. And we got out there and we found this herd of goats. And we began to shoo this herd of goats down toward the night defensive position. And when we got them right where we knew that the goats could only go one way, right through the night defensive position, we smacked one in the ass and boom, there went the goats, right down into this night defensive position. And the night lit up. And I had only given them about 150 rounds and they burned through all of it. All of the training that I had taught them about firing in 5 to 8 round bursts, that went right out the window. They just leaned back on the trigger and just blew them away. Of course, there were goats and flying all over. None of them were hurt, but there were goats flying all over the area. And Charlie and Keith and IK came screaming back into the perimeter, claiming that a platoon of NVA had just invaded them and were all over them.
Okay, you say you're playing Army and all that, but there's enough real danger and enough peer pressure that the stakes somehow got very, very high.
Now, one night I'm sleeping and I sleep with my mouth open, you know, like this, and he takes a water bug, which is a huge cockroach. Took 2 of them, and they were copulating. And he put it on my beard, and I like this. And then the thing crawled into my mouth, and it crawled in my tongue, and I spit it out. And in what was pretty dim light, I could see 2 water bugs copulating on my lap. And I went bananas. I'm like, this is a fucking movie. You're taking water bugs on my mouth. And fuck you, and fuck Oliver. And, you know, and it started to all come apart. And that's great. Oliver's dick was stiff when he heard about stuff like this.
They begin to snap at each other, and they begin to say, "You son of a bitch, that's my C ration," you know, and you could hear this going on. And I knew then that we were beginning to build a real rifle platoon.
Every character in the movie became like the person they were, or they were already that way. Maybe he cast it so well. It's like Mark, you know, was the guy who got us lost. And Mark's the same kind of scenes that were in the film, but it wasn't a thought in my mind, I'm trying to play the scene in the movie.
At the end of that 2 weeks, we took 2 hours out, we all went up, we did a mass reading of it. And it was fascinating hearing all the characters, because I was like, it was all gelling in my mind, and it was like, indeed, all these guys were becoming the characters.
These kids were ready to go, and I was very, very proud of them.
We went directly from our graduation party to the first day of shooting. Oliver didn't want any downtime back in Manila at the hotel, this and that, for anybody to lose that edge.
It was 0400 when we got on the little buses they had, and we went directly location. We got all our gear on, and then we marched up the hill. And it was quite a march, actually, probably a good mile or so uphill. And all you could hear were the feet. That's all you could hear. Nobody was talking as the sun was coming up. And as we would march by, we saw Oliver go by in a Jeep. He goes by in a Jeep like that, and we all looked. Reminded me of the story, my dad was in the Philippines in World War II, and he saw MacArthur drive by in a Jeep with that corncob pipe, and he says, what an asshole. What an asshole.
I thought he was a madman. One of those guys who sort of rides that fine line between brilliance and explosion of the brain.
I couldn't help but fall.
He would find ways to get inside you. The more he got to know you, the better access he had to your buttons. He started pushing him a little bit.
I think one scene he got pissed at me. I made the helicopter land, and I made him run up and get the resupply, and he wanted to wear a T-shirt or something because there was the dirt and the rocks hitting his back. And I said, bullshit, take your T-shirt off. I want your skin.
I said, look, Ollie, if I wear my T-shirt, we hide the tattoo, the chopper's kicking up rocks and pebbles at 100 miles an hour. I'm getting beat the shit out here. And he says, what are you, a pussy? You little fucking pussy from Malibu playing too much fucking volleyball on the beach, huh? What the fuck's wrong with you? Can't handle some pebbles? Put some dirt on your fucking tattoo. That was early on. That was like day 4. So I knew what I was going to be dealing with.
Everyone hated him so much it was embarrassing. But he wanted it that way.
He'll stop at nothing. I remember when we were doing the scene where I was about to croak. That would take you to the next level and the next level and the next level. You know what I mean? He just took you on that ride.
You know, a good director is a guy that creates a certain tone and creates the world, and you can be in that world. And then all he has to do is steer you.
Piece of shit! Get him! Come on! Bring it up! Bring it up! Action! Bring it up!
He made this like really, it was a life or death thing. There's real talent in that.
Mid-flight, the chair gives way. So King grabs it from behind.
So you almost went out the thing?
Well, it was close, but I'm still here.
It's a good thing you're here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a movie.
Hey, I put a seatbelt on this time.
Oliver.
How was the run? That was all right? How was the seatbelt on? Good, you felt better. Oh, man.
What happened, Oliver?
What happened?
Yeah.
Having problems. It's hard.
With what?
It's hard. Got a bad feeling on this one, all right? I mean, I got a bad feeling.
I kept breaking down, and I couldn't handle it. It was at the end of the shoot, and I couldn't take it.
I don't think I'm gonna make it out of here. You understand what I'm saying to you?
All of it was getting to be system overload for me. I think we did it 8 times, and the one I didn't cry on is one he printed and used.
I guess you could say it's a method direction in the sense of wanting them to realize that the stakes were high, that their lives were on the line.
I was completely knocked out for about 10 seconds. And I woke up to Dale die with a little pen light in my eyes, checking my pupils, and it was very strange. I was not back in Kansas, however. I was still in the jungle.
I remember the 42nd day, I have this vivid memory of my going out to this night shoot and feeling like I was alone. I think my Bob Richardson showed up and a few other people, but we were down to nothing.
It was absolutely, totally guerrilla filmmaking. It was like, you know, knock this shot off over here, run over here, do this, you know.
Bravo 2.
We all helped move equipment. You never see an actor. You saw these actors do that. They were used to humping heavy things, and they were into this. They wanted to do this. And anything they could do to help out, they did.
One day we did 55 setups. And how did we like some of that stuff? I don't know.
$6 million you don't miss.
We didn't give a shit about the camera, you know what I mean? Nobody cared.
I said, I'm gonna kiss the ground at LAX. And I did. I kissed the ground. I didn't think I was gonna make it out of there alive at one point.
Some of those kids got picked off in the sense that they, you know, this was their first film, and it's a hard place to follow. And they would, you know, go back to jobs as waiters, or hoping for the next film. Some of them never got that second film, ever. Some of them just went back to hometowns. And, you know, it was a bit like Vietnam. We all kind of fell apart, and some guys did better, others. So each one went his own way, and it's sort of sad to see that. It's like, you know, life moves on. It doesn't stop. That's the point.
This was important to us from the get-go, because it was important to Dale Dye. It was important to Oliver. We took their lead, and also with very good material in this incredible. You know, we, in our simple way, as much as possible, we were trying to be committed to, you know, it goes beyond realism. It has to do with it being the right spirit.
I asked him, I said, Oliver, look, I'm going to Las Vegas to meet with the surviving guys from my outfit in Vietnam to a sort of a reunion. Now, these guys are the real deal. They have seen the elephant and heard the owl. I think we should see what they think. And he said, oh, it's not ready, and we don't have the sound, and we don't have the music laid in, and yada, yada. And I said, Oliver, they don't care. I said, let's just test the waters.
It's really there. I almost thought that I got the smells from Vietnam. That's how real it was.
It serves, I think, as Oliver's own tribute, because he himself was a combat infantryman in Vietnam. It serves as his tribute and his statement about those things which happened to us in the war.
Even if the public ignored it, we had done something special.
The country is critics, the newspaper guys are critics, the world are the critics. Then you get it down to the vets, and the vets are your best critics. But then you specifically get it down one more step to the guys who are in the same platoon, and they're looking to see which character they are, and I would imagine it makes him a little bit nervous.
I said, what flavor? And you said something like, that's pretty good, Lauren. We've always had these verbal sparring acts.
Struck a lot of nerves because a lot of people say, well, yeah, I went through that. This is what I went through, but I have never been able to express myself and talk to my family or to my kids or to my buddies about what actually went on, because it's just been a part of my life that I didn't want to talk about. And boom, here's this film Platoon that says, yeah, I went through that. That's my experience. When Oliver Stone shined, all Vietnam veterans shine.
When we got home, Top Gun was the big hit. And, you know, we really, by the end of that Platoon, it felt like we'd made a love story about young men dying in war. I mean, that's what it felt like. It was like this wildly terrific bonding experience. And you get home and it's like, you know, aircraft carriers and guns and stuff, and it's like, shit, that's not what we did. And that's what people are going to see as a war movie. And then it turns out Oliver's going to release it at Christmas, and I'm like, oh, we're fucked in the ass. You know, this is not, It's a Wonderful Life. So I just figured we're dead, mate.
I knew we were making a very important film. I knew that the vets would appreciate it and the families would appreciate it. I didn't know that this film was going to be received like it was, and that was a real shock for me.
I thought we were going to make a movie with a lot of integrity and a very smart movie, but I thought it would be misidentified, and the people did not want to hear about Vietnam.
Platoon was hailed by viewers and critics alike. It has been a phenomenal cultural as well as box office success.
The whole response to Platoon changed my life as a filmmaker, because until that time, I never realized the power of a motion picture. That you can affect social change, you can change people's thinking about subjects.
I can remember the days when I wouldn't even admit that I was a Vietnam veteran. But now, and I'm sure this movie has a lot to do with it, I can finally say I'm very proud to be a Vietnam veteran.
Been going through all these years, I understand what you went through.
I could identify with these actors. They were one of us.
You look into their eyes and you see that in their eyes, every step they're making, it's a look of fear, but then also there's a look of that, well, if something comes my way, I'm going to take care of it. And for them to accomplish that in that short period of time really just shows you how dedicated they were to putting this picture together to show what it was really like.
Every Vietnam veteran has a different experience in Vietnam. This was just a taste. It was a little taste. This was only 3 hours of what a lot of us had to go through for 365 days. There are veterans in my organization that I belong to that have never seen the movie. They don't want to see the movie. They're still afraid to see it. Hopefully, when this comes out, they will see it.
I hope the one thing they walk away with from this film is the truth, and knowing that that this film is about the horrors, the madness.
It's a mythological movie, man, and he understood that, I think. Oliver.
I had the whole platoon lined up one day. What I said to them was like, I have this feeling that this is going to be one of the great movies. It could hard on some of these guys still to this day. I mean, they haven't gotten that back.
I'm really proud to have been involved in that film. Really very proud to have been involved in Platoon. It gave me a hunger, and he sort of gave me a drive to want to, you know, to go somewhere else, to try, you know, to do other things and learn more.
I look back on it as a very gratifying experience. It was real labor of love.
In my heart, and I think we all felt we were doing something special. And the idea was more important than any single one of us.
Okay, guys, we're gonna do.
This whole experience changed my life.
In the sense that American generation that went over there had something to teach the rest of America. Not just the generation that stayed at home, but the upcoming generation, the kids, their grandkids. And I only hope that the kids that are coming up are smarter than I was and have read a little more history than I have and can make up their own mind the next time some politician tries to sell them a used war like this.